This is All Out Politics, news, debate and opinion from the heart of Westminster. Well, members of the Labour Party are gathering this weekend for the party's annual conference in Brighton. And it looks as if a battle over Brexit policy is on the cards. Many activists would like Labour to come off the fence and campaign for Remain. Well, joining me now is the Labour MP, Rupa. Welcome to you indeed. Now, last year's the conference was pretty much dominated by this question of the party's position on Brexit. Do you think the same is going to happen this year?
I mean, Brexit has dominated all politics since 2016, really. But our party position has moved a long way. So last year it was about getting a people's vote. And now we're the only party that's offering a people's vote at the general election, because we've seen the other two have veered off to the extremes now for political expediency reasons, really. So, I mean, Boris has turned the Conservatives into a no-deal, very narrow, sort of UKIP-esque party. And at the same time, the Lib Dems are going completely nuclear with their revoke policy, which, again, is a bit extreme. It sort of negates that 2016 ever happened.
But
so
yeah.
we are offering a people's vote now.
You have got a renegotiate policy, though, but you're in this slightly, what many people regard as an absurd position of saying you would seek to renegotiate, but you can't commit to saying whether or not you'd support your renegotiation.
I mean, look, it depends on so many things. It's complicated. It's a member-led policy. We've got 500,000 members, so, I mean, it will be decided. I know that's Jeremy Corbyn's view and some of the unions. Also, we've heard Tom Watson's view, but it is a democratic party, so the actual decision will be taken on the conference floor.
I mean, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, the issue is that you want another referendum, you're going to propose. You're not proposing no deal. No deal is off the table as far as Labour is concerned.
MPs have voted against it 3 times. We know from Yellowhammer, we know from all the disclosures it would be pretty catastrophic. It sounds good to some people because it's got the word no in it if they're leavers. But, I mean, when you drill down to the detail, there's no benefits in no deal. It was never on any ballot
So
paper.
the choice is going to be the best available deal or remaining, or revoking.
I think that's what it should be, a negotiated actual deal, because back in 2016 it was a bit theoretical, wasn't it? So we need a tangible something, text of something, versus what we have now.
Yeah. But the majority of the party would like Labour to say, the party members, as I understand it, would like Labour to say, we want to remain in the European Union and not be like the Liberal Democrats, if you like, not really. Yeah,
I mean, look, I represent Ealing, where we were over 70% Remain. So certainly that's what members want. But I think the key to this policy is that it's the public who decides at the end, sort of thing. So, because it feels like it's been a Westminster stitch-up since 2016. And again, had we sort of caved into Boris's election request, that would be a Boris stitch-up. That's even worse. So sort of let the public decide.
I mean, it seems to me that you're saying that what you expect is at the end of the conference you will be recommending Remain subject to referendum. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure most Labour people, as I say, Ealing is very Remain, but Easington might be quite different. So I think this policy does recognise that the country is divided. Families have been factionalised, our politics has been poisoned. You know, this corrosive, divisive atmosphere that we're in now, and the other two parties are sort of choosing a side, whereas at least we're allowing the people to have the final say. And I reckon, yes, most of our members, pretty much all our MPs at the 2016 referendum, I think there was a handful, you can count on the fingers of one hand, that wanted to leave. So, yeah, there are some renegades.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there is that sentence.
We campaign for Remain and reform.
There's that old saying, isn't there? If you sit on the fence, you get splinters.
Up your bum, yeah. Painful place to be. But no, I mean, I think let the people decide. I trust the great British public much more than I trust Boris Johnson to impose his no-deal kamikaze version of Brexit on everyone.
Now, you're talking about Ealing in London, which is strongly in favour of Remain. Are you worried about losing the Bolsovers and the northern constituencies? I mean, is that something you're picking up as a national politician, that there really is a swing away from Labour in Leaver constituencies?
I mean, I think the polling has shown, people like the People's Vote campaign, that Labour Leavers are more Labour than they are Leave, because it's the party that gave us the NHS, you know, all those achievements, every piece of equalities legislation pretty much, apart from gay marriage, which was only carried with Labour votes. So I think the identifications of Labour voters, even if they voted Leave. And also things are changing, so all the polling all the time. We know what people thought on the 23rd of June 2016, but we need a fresh assessment of the will of the people now, just on this very issue, I feel, rather than mixing it up in a general election.
So do you think it's a bit of an Aunt Sally, really, when, you know, people in the leader's office say, oh, we've got to be very worried about these seats in the north?
I mean, I say let's go to the people and see what people think. I think now evidence is coming out, it's moving. But, I mean, seats electorally in the north, I think, you know, the Labour brand is a very good one. It's got attachments to it, loyalty, and I think go for it. Sometimes you have to do what the right thing is and not triangulate. That was what Tony Blair was accused of.
Would you be happy running on a referendum as things stand, as stated by Jeremy Corbyn this week, or do you think there needs to be?
I think there needs to be some sort of deal. So let's wait and see what Boris comes back with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's so many unknowns in this. But I think the principle of putting it back to the people, and I think you disentangle it from a general election, because we've seen in a four-party politics system, you could win a general election with a third of the vote. So, and a general election last time didn't solve anything. I think it's because Boris prefers being out on the trail, having selfies taken, than doing anything difficult.
If there is substantial change to the backstop, do you think that'd be enough to get a withdrawal deal with pretty much all the rest being the same as what Mrs May proposed? Would that be enough to get it through Parliament, do you think?
I mean, I think it's easier said than done to get it through Parliament. The 260 people elected as Labour MPs last time, 270 of us have consistently opposed her withdrawal deal. And it's not just for the backstop, there are a whole host of other reasons. And then also there's the ERG, the hard right of the Tory party. I think for some of them, nothing will ever be enough. They want a no deal, and they're quite gleeful about this.
There is a proposal put forward by two of your Labour colleagues, the Peter Kyle and Phil Wilson, saying, OK, we'd vote for this, but subject to a referendum. Would you do that?
I'd certainly buy that. And in fact, twice when we had the indicative votes, that was the most popular proposal that came out of everything. There were different things. It was like a multiple choice test. But that was the one most MPs favoured. And since then, you know, 21 Conservatives were defenestrated in one day. People like Amber Rudd have gone since, saying that there were no negotiations going on. So, I mean, I think something like that, you know, it would be a lot of eating of words for someone like me who always said I won't vote for any withdrawal bill. But if it came subject to that rider, that it goes back to the people, then even...
I mean, the choice would presumably boil down to vote for a referendum on the deal or remain, or just have a further delay because of what the courts have done.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're in completely unprecedented territory here, aren't we? Uncharted waters. Courts being involved in UK politics, a former Prime Minister giving evidence against the current one. We've never seen the likes of this at all. You know, when I did A-level politics in the 80s, we were always told that we have an unwritten constitution that works because everyone trusts each other and it robs along fine. But, I mean, I think it's being tested to its limits at the moment.
And what's your best guess? A year from now, where is Britain going to be vis-a-vis the European Union?
I mean, I'd like to think that we'll still be in. We could have a people's vote by spring, and I'd like to think that the polling shows people have moved. Now they know, and this would be on Project Fact, not Project Fear this time.
OK, Rupa, thank you very much indeed. We'll see you in Brighton, I'm sure.